When Whitney was told by her parents to sign up for driving lessons in a certain driving school, she was very reluctant, but she didn't even know why. She was supposed to be excited and readily jump at the offer, but as she sat on the sofa in her room, the opposite was the case. Whitney, dear, please come, her father called out to her from the sitting room. Yes, Daddy, Whitney answered as she stood up from the bed and walked straight away to meet her father. What is going on with you, dear? It's been 1 month since your mother and I paid for driving lessons for you in one of the best driving schools in Lagos. Tell me why you hadn't gone for classes ever since. Mr. Eze, the father of Whitney, asked. Daddy, it's just that my spirit doesn't accept that driving school. Wish you could pay for another instead of that one you are asking me to attend. Whitney said, and her father raised an eyebrow as though he got angry. What do you mean by that? Don't you know who owns the driving school? And I'm asking you to attend. It is my childhood friend. If you can't remember, Mr. Eze fumed as he stamped his feet on the ground. It's fine, tomorrow I will go there and get myself registered for the driving classes, Whitney responded, and her father became happy. Now you are talking. If it is Etisalat, that is exactly what you will say. Well done, my dear, Mr. Eze said, and Whitney laughed so loud. Her father had always had good sense of humor. Whitney was a young and beautiful girl of 25-year-old. She had just graduated from the university, and her father thought the time was right for her to learn how to drive. Because he was a strict disciplinarian, he didn't allow his daughter access to any of his cars while she was still a student. Now that she was a graduate, he felt it was the right thing to do. Without even consulting her, he went ahead to pay for the driving training in his friend's driving school. He was scared of entrusting his only daughter into the hands of his driver, so he registered her in one of the best driving schools in Lagos. They were professional drivers to give her the best driving training. Instead of leaving his daughter in the hands of his driver and later getting the devastating news of how they both fell in love with one another while undergoing driving lessons, he preferred to send her to a more professional driving environment. It was the best driving school in Lagos, and because her father wanted the best for her, he didn't bother to find out from her whether or not she would like the driving school. The next day, Whitney dragged her feet as she headed for her driving classes. Her mother saw how she was misbehaving, and so she asked a few questions. My dear, why are you wearing a long face on your first day at school? You should put a smile on that face already. Mama, said Whitney, told you I am not happy. But why? My spirit doesn't accept that driving school Daddy forced me to sign up for. I don't just know why. I don't like that school, Whitney said to her mother as she finally spilled the beans. Shh! Don't say that. You know your father will not be happy if he hears what you just said. That driving school is owned by his friend and he trusts him so much, Mommy said, and Whitney kept quiet and walked out as though muttering to herself. I knew talking to you was useless as usual. Daddy doesn't listen to me, neither do you, Whitney said, and with that she dashed off immediately. As Whitney walked down the road to board a car, she stood for a long time but didn't see any vehicle, so she trekked to a nearby junction, and that was when she saw many vehicles. She boarded the cab, she prayed and committed her ways into God's hands. She said to God that her parents were the reason she was going to the driving school, otherwise she would have stayed back since her spirit was not at peace with it. Few minutes later, Whitney was at her destination. She alighted from the cab and paid the taxi driver, who looked at the money she gave him before calling her out. Madam, the money wey you give me don pass o. It's fine, keep the change, Whitney responded as she walked on. The taxi driver was so happy. This our work good today o. Some days we go lose but some days we go get plenty pass, he said while driving out. Good day, sir, Whitney said, greeting the manager when he saw her sitting beside the desk in their exquisite office. You are welcome. What is your name, please? He asked. Whitney told him. He then went ahead to check through the payment list and her name was there. After confirming that she was registered, he began to take her to the theoretical aspect of the training before they entered the practical aspect. Meanwhile, the CEO of the driving school sat in his secret chambers in Ijebu-Ode consulting in the spirit. Oh, so my friend finally brought his daughter to my driving school. That is great news. I will teach him a lesson now that the point of contact to reach his family had been delivered into my hands. Ah, Baba Kabiesi, CEO said as he hailed his gods. Whitney, who was still undergoing theoretical training in the manager's office when the first bird that went out that morning came back. Good afternoon, sir, the driver greeted the manager as he walked into the office. Yes, Frank, how was the training? The manager asked. Frank was staring, admiring Whitney. The manager had to cut out to him again before he jerked back from his deep top and stammered a response to him. Oh, it was splendid, sir. The new lady who joined us today is doing amazing. Frank responded and the manager was happy to hear about the report. That's good to hear, he said and turned to Whitney for some introduction. Miss Whitney, meet Frank. He's one of the best drivers this company has and that is why I am entrusting you into his hands. The manager said, thank you, sir. Frank responded to the compliment his boss just gave him. After filling the form that was given to her, Whitney headed back home. Her training was scheduled for the next day, so she was let off after she had filled all the necessary documents. The girl is very beautiful. Oh my God, I have never seen such a beauty in this company before. Thank God I'm the one who was choosing to train her, Frank said in his mind as he sat in front of the manager, who perceived what he was thinking. I see that you already fixed your eyes on this girl, but be reminded that you are here to work and not to gallivant around with female students, Oga, manager said to Frank, who quickly snapped out of his wide imagination after he was exposed. I'm sorry, sir. It's not what you think, Frank said as he tried to deny the allegation against him. It's fine, time shall tell. The manager responded with a knowing smile, and Frank smiled shyly as his thought had been uncovered. Ade, the CEO of the driving school Whitney has just registered into, was friends with Mr. Eze, Whitney's father. Both of them were best friends even though they later chose different career paths as they got into the university. After graduation, things became very tough for Ade, so he reached out to his friend who he felt was doing well because his father was rich. My friend, the landlord is about to throw me out of the house because I'm owing up to 2 years of rent, and he said because he was fed up with me. Please, I need 300,000 naira from you. I promise to pay back instrumental till I complete the payment. Ade pleaded with his friend in his office. My friend, the truth is that I don't have up to that amount you are requesting for. I will still help you the little way I can. However, as you know, I'm working on establishing my company. I can't risk giving you the little money I'm keeping for that project because you and I know that you will never pay up your debts. You are aware that you owe me a lot of money. You borrowed from me while in the university. That money was up to 100,000 naira, but I just let it go because I know you will never pay me back. Because of that, I can't render any form of financial help to you right now. Only way I can ever borrow you money again is if I will be able to let go of such money, Eze had told his friend years ago. Ade didn't forgive his friend as he held on to that for years, so he planned to deal with his friend. But because they didn't have physical contact with each other for those years, it was impossible for him to do anything. Eze, on the other hand, never knew that his friend took those words to heart. After Ade had left that office, he never got to hear from him again. When he tried calling him on phone with his number he had at that time, it didn't connect. After making efforts to connect with his friend and he failed, Eze moved on with a clear conscience, not knowing that his friend wasn't happy with him. On a certain day, Eze had gone to fill his car at a very busy filling station in the heart of Lagos when he ran to his friend Ade. They chatted like old lost friends, and Ade didn't give Eze the impression that he held grudges against him. They chatted happily and exchanged contact before departure. The day for Whitney to resume her driving lessons were finally here. She didn't feel like going, but she was compelled to. When she got to the driving school, the time was right for them to take off. All right, everybody, put on your seatbelt, Frank instructed his student before taking off. It was three students that boarded on the car. Whitney was sitting behind the wheels. Yes, turn left, right, keep your face fixed on the side mirror, Frank kept saying to Whitney. She had just picked up something and everything was going on smoothly when an incoming vehicle failed brake and ran into their vehicle. Onlookers shouted as they rushed towards the car that had been damaged beyond repair. All the people inside laid side by side in the pool of their own blood. Eyewitnesses rushed some of the victims who were still breathing to the hospital. Whitney, alongside Frank and one other lady, survived the accident. Whitney was in a critical condition and shortly after she was admitted, her parents rushed in, panting heavily. How is my child doing, doctor? Mr. Eze asked, holding the doctor by the collar of his shirt. Calm down, sir. Your daughter will be fine, doctor said as he tried to wriggle out Mr. Eze's grip, but it was too late. It's not a matter of is she fine? How is she at the moment? That is what I want to hear, Mr. Eze asked, and the doctor didn't know what to say because of the critical state of the daughter was at that moment. She's in coma right now, the doctor responded, and immediately he fled from Mr. Eze's grip before it would get worse. What? My own daughter in coma? No! God, please save her. She's my only child, and I won't be able to survive if anything happens to her, Whitney's mother said as she cried with a loud voice. Calm down, dear. Nothing will happen to our daughter. The only regret I have now is that I refused to listen to her when she said her spirit was not at peace with the driving school. Maybe this is what God had foreseen, and He was about to tell us, but we are too blind to discern. Oh God, please have mercy on our child. Mr. Eze prayed silently as he held his wife in place. Whitney was battling with her life in the emergency ward. On every corner of her body was drip, oxygen, and a host of other medical support gear. When Mr. Eze entered into the emergency ward and saw the condition of his daughter, he was so pained. He kept blaming himself for not listening to her when she pleaded with him to change the driving school. Whitney, dear, please forgive mommy for paying deaf ears to your feelings. I promise to do better in the future. Please wake up, Mama said as she cried uncontrollably beside Whitney on the hospital bed while she lay motionless. Few minutes later, the doctor and some nurses walked into the ward and asked Whitney's parents to excuse them so that they would start to work on her. Whitney's mother refused to leave the ward. She said she must be there to see when her daughter wakes up. Please, sir, talk to your wife. We need some space to do our job, the doctor said to Mr. Eze, and immediately dragged his wife, who was crying, out of the ward, so he kept consoling her. After Ade learned that his friend's daughter, whom he had planned to do evil to, was registered in his driving school, he had wanted to give her a poison packet to deliver to his father as a gift from him. However, Brotherhood had a different plan for him. When Ade got initiated into the Brotherhood 1 year ago, he had done that for protection. Little did he know that they would require blood sacrifice from him yearly. Ade was in his house on that fateful day when he received a call that his student had involved in a ghastly car accident. He thought it was a normal accident until he went for meeting that night and he was congratulated. Congratulations for renewing your sacrifice, faithful servant, the Grandmaster commended as soon as the meeting began. Grandmaster, I don't understand. Which sacrifice are you talking about? Ade asked in confusion. A car conveying some students in your driving school was involved in an accident earlier today. That wasn't a natural accident. It was controlled from this temple. Now you have successfully offered your sacrifice for this year, and your words will continue to flow, and protection shall abound for you, Grandmaster said, and Ade became very surprised and angry at the same time. He didn't understand why he wasn't informed that he was going to be offering sacrifices every year to keep his flow of wealth active. Listening to the Grandmaster made him regret ever going to ask anything from the devil. He looked at everybody in the temple and he walked out without uttering a word. Ade, come back here right now or face the consequences. Nobody ever walks out of the great Grandmaster of Ijebuode, Grandmaster said, but Ade was already out of the door before he could finish talking. I wonder why secret societies do not inform people of what they are signing up for before going ahead to initiate them into their cult. Maybe they do that because they believe they are superior and nobody can sue them or challenge them. Just look at how innocent children who had left their houses with joy of going to learn driving from one of the best driving schools in Lagos ended up. How will I remedy the situation now? I regret ever joining such cult, Ade said as he appeared in his bed in his exquisite mansion. His wife and 3 children were sleeping peacefully, and they didn't even know what was going on in the house. After Ade had appeared into his room, the Grandmaster held his peace. He didn't strike him immediately because he wanted to do that in place where there would be many people, so Ade would be embarrassed. The meeting continued with other members, and shortly they closed for that night. Everyone disappeared and landed in their bedrooms. Because their wives were kept in separate rooms, it wasn't a problem for them. Whitney was still lying motionlessly in the hospital, and her parents had cried all their tears they had in their eyes. Mr. Eze was particularly more hurt because he knew the part he played in what happened. I wish she could just wake up. I promised never to pay deaf ears to her again. Looking at my daughter go through such pain is devastating, Mr. Eze said as he buried his face in his lap and sobbed. He didn't want people to see him cry, so they wouldn't think he was weak, so he hid his tears from everyone. He was still crying and feeling devastated when suddenly he remembered something. I didn't even ask, how did my daughter involved in that kind of accident from a driving school that is very professional and big? I need to go and see those workers in that company, Mr. Eze said. With that, he took off and headed to the driving school. When he got there, luckily for him, his friend was around. When he got there, he received one of the shocking news that sent shockwaves through his spine. One of the students had died on the spot, Eze heard someone said as he walked through the balcony leading to his friend's office. As soon as he heard that, he quickly turned around and went to where they were discussing. Excuse me, did you say one of the students died from the accident? Mr. Eze asked, and the lady said yes. We do not know what had caused such an accident, but from what we've heard so far, it wasn't a natural accident. Something is definitely behind it, the lady said, and without uttering another word, Mr. Eze ran towards his friend's office. Tell me what happened to my daughter, Mr. Eze asked as he banged into his friend's office and held him tightly on the collar of his shirt. My friend, please calm down. I don't know what happened, but we all know that things like this happen. Ade was still talking when a punch landed on his face. How dare you tell me that? My daughter has been in coma since yesterday, and you open your mouth to tell me that? Mr. Eze screamed, and that attracted some workers who were outside. They rushed him and dragged Mr. Eze out. You people will hear from me, bunch of incompetent fellows, Mr. Eze said, and he walked out. He was a rich man, so getting a police commissioner involved in the case wasn't difficult for him. However, after he called the commissioner and he mentioned the name of the driving school to him, he noticed that there was a foul play. CP, are you listening to what I'm saying to you? I said my daughter has been in coma since yesterday as a result of that accident, and another girl is dead from the same accident. My concern now is, how can a professional driving school be involved in this kind of mess? I believe there is something going on that we do not know. I want you to take him in so that he can tell us what happened to our children, Mr. Eze said, and he still observed that the CP wasn't responding in the way he expected. Mr. Eze, I want you to calm down for now. Allow us investigate this matter thoroughly before making any arrest, CP simply said, and Mr. Eze immediately suspected a foul play. That's okay. I can see that you are not cooperating on this matter, so I will leave you alone. Thank you all the same for your time, Mr. Eze said and ended the call. What could be going on with the police commissioner? He didn't sound enthusiastic about this case like he used to anytime I reached out for his help. I suspect there is something going on between those two that I can't pinpoint what. Mr. Eze wondered to himself as he sat on the hospital bed with the still body of his daughter. My husband, I think you should let this matter rest. Look at our daughter. She isn't even moving, and here you are running around over some case. I think we should both offer our support and love to our only child, and when she gets better, you can go ahead with the matter, Mama Whitney said, and her husband shook his head. My dear, you don't understand how cases work in this country. Once our child gets better, nobody will believe such a thing happened. But it's fine, I will let it go, Mr. Eze said, and his wife was happy about it. Thank you, my husband. Nothing is more important than our only child waking up from the condition she is now, Mama Whitney said. While they were still talking, Whitney's hand moved, and both of them rushed towards her with tears of joy. She just moved. Please call the doctor immediately, Mr. Eze said to his wife as he held his daughter's hand. Doctor, 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 please come oh. My daughter just moved, Mama Whitney said as she called the doctor who was going through some documents in his office. Oh, right behind you, the doctor said, and he picked up his stethoscope and followed Mama Whitney. When they got to the ward, Mr. Eze was crying and Whitney's body movement had stopped. What happened, Mama asked as she began to pant from her little running. My daughter, please don't do this to me. Don't do this to us, Mr. Eze said to the still body of Whitney, and then he turned to the doctor and said, after she moved earlier, she became motionless again. Please check her. She'll be fine. She had fallen back into coma. But that is not a death sentence. Some people stay in coma for 1 month, while others stay longer, the doctor said, and with that, he moved out of the ward after checking on Whitney to be sure that she was really in coma and not the other way around. God, please save my daughter. She would not be in this condition right now if I had listened to her. Mr. Eze prayed silently as his wife was crying. Ade had just stepped out of his car to check the cracking sound he had been hearing from the trunk of his car. However, as he stepped out and moved towards the back of his car, he began to defecate right there on the road. He had tried everything possible to hold it, but each time he tried, it seems as though he was pushing it out. It was coming out like oil being drilled out of an oil well. Oga, wetin dey worry you now? Why you dey stand for road dey shit? Some people said from their small crowd that had gathered. Many more people gathered and some of them began to video what was happening with their mobile phone. This one na ritual this man dey do. If not, why old man like this go stand for road dey shit? Another man said. Ade wanted to run into his car, but as he tried to open the car, he noticed the door had been locked supernaturally. Oh God, please save me from this shame. I promise to serve you. Ade prayed silently as people were cursing and spitting on him. Shortly after he said those words, the stooling stopped and Ade was surprised. He quickly ran into his car in shame and drove up as some boys ran towards his car with can of fuel and matches in their hands. It appeared that they wanted to set him ablaze as they suspected him to be a ritualist. Whitney's boyfriend heard about the accident she had, but he couldn't go to see her because of how domineering her father was. Because Whitney had always told him not to show his face in their house, he couldn't go to see her even though he wanted. After he got the current update on Whitney's condition, he decided to go and see her and face the consequences. I can't continue to sit back when my baby had been in coma for 2 whole days. I think it's time I go to that hospital and see her, Jide said as he got ready to move. Without wasting time, he got into his car and drove towards the hospital. When he finally got there, he was scared to go to the ward because of so many scary things Whitney had told him about her father. After sitting in the car for an hour, he decided as a man to go and see his wife. The least a man can do is to send me out. He won't beat me, Jide said as he walked into the hospital complex. In giant stride, he went straight to the reception and asked the ward Whitney was. After he was told, he took a bold step and approached the direction of the ward. Father Lord, please do not let this man send me out when I haven't seen my love. It will be worse that I came all the way here and I'm not allowed to see the person I came for, Jide said before knocking. After knocking on the door once, he opened the door. Good afternoon, sir, he greeted Mr. Eze, who didn't know who he was. Afternoon, young man. How may I help you, please? He asked Jide, whose heart began to beat fast. Sir, my name is Jide, and I'm Whitney's friend. I heard about the accident, so I decided to see how she's doing, Jide said and waited for what was next to happen. True to his expectation, Mr. Eze lashed out on him. What do you mean that you are my daughter's friend? Where have you ever heard that a man and a woman become ordinary friends without background play? Before I closed my eyes and opened them, get out of my presence. I never want to see you again, Mr. Eze said. As Jide took a step out, something unimaginable happened. When he had mentioned his name earlier to her father, Whitney actually heard him, and for the first time since the past 48 hours, she opened her eyes. Jesus, my daughter is awake. My daughter is awake, Mama exclaimed as she was the first to see what happened. What did you just say? Mr. Eze asked, and he turned to Jide and said, My son, please come back. Jide immediately turned back when he heard that Whitney had opened her eyes. He ran towards the bed and hugged her lightly. It only took few minutes for him to realize that he was in the presence of her parents, so he backed off immediately and muttered, I'm sorry, sir. It's okay, my son. Your presence here has worked a miracle, and I don't mind if you stay, Mr. Eze said with his own mouth, and Jide became very shocked to hear that. Jide, Whitney muttered. She didn't have much strength to talk. Yes, baby. Why did you do this to us? Mommy and Daddy have been here by your side for the past 2 days, Jide said, with so much joy. However, everyone was shocked by the next question Whitney asked. Who is Mommy and Daddy? She asked, and her mother began to cry. I hope my child's brain hadn't been tampered with. If not, why would she not remember us? Mama asked her husband and both of them walked towards her, but they were surprised by what she did. Immediately they started walking towards her. She clung onto Jide and began to plead that he save her from those people who were coming towards her. Please hide me from these people who are coming, Whitney cried, and her parents stopped in their track. Oh no, I can't date this one. Let me go and see the doctor immediately, Mama said, and ran off to inform the doctor about the latest development. Doctor, my daughter has regained consciousness, but the problem now is that she neither recognized me nor her father. The person she recognizes is her boyfriend, who just came to see her. In fact, she woke up the moment that boy's name was mentioned. Mama said, calm down, Mrs. Eze. Let's go and see her, doctor said as he packed his medical apparatus and followed after Mama, who was still shedding tears. After the doctor checked Whitney, he confirmed that the very thing he had feared. Mr. and Mrs. Eze, please, let's see in my office. Mr. Eze became very furious. There's no need to beat around the bush. Doctor, tell us what the situation is, he said. He stood his hands in akimbo. The doctor remained silent for a moment before spilling the beans. I'm afraid she had memory loss as a result of that accident. This condition does not have a time frame to normalize. All I will beg of you is to remain patient and prayerful, the doctor said as he moved out of the ward. Oh God, see what my ego has cost me. What will happen if you are taking time for me to listen to my daughter? If I had done that, she wouldn't be in this condition, Mr. Eze lamented as he tried walking towards Whitney, and she cried. After thinking of what to do, husband and wife decided to get two security men to carry her into the vehicle so they will bundle her home. Jide was crying because of the critical condition Whitney was in. She didn't want her parents to come close to her. They wondered how they would be able to take care of her home when she was discharged. Sir, I suggest she comes to my place with me. Then, after things normalize, I'll bring her home, Jide suggested, and Mr. Eze looked at him with scorn. What do you mean by that, young man? Are you both married that you want to live together? Children of this generation do not have respect, and it baffles me, Mr. Eze said, and Jide felt very hurt because he was a very respectful guy. I'm sorry, sir, I only wanted to help, Jide said. Shut up, my friend. How is what you are suggesting a help? You want my daughter to come with you to your house as what? Mr. Eze fired back at Jide and he kept quiet. Ade ran to his mansion and called his wife urgently. Maria, Maria, please call your pastor. Immediately, my life is in danger, he said as he fell into the sofa breathing heavily. My husband, what happened to you? Maria asked and she came out with her Bible. She had always suspected that her husband belonged to a secret cult or society, something close to it because he had never stepped his feet into church since they got married. There's no time to explain things to you now. Just call your pastor so that he can pray for me before these people will come to finish me up, Ade said as he panted out of here. Okay, his wife said as she brought out her phone to make a call. However, before she could dial the fourth digit, an invisible hand slapped the phone from her hand and it landed on the ground and got damaged instantly. Maria smiled. Thank God she was a matured Christian who knew how to combat demonic forces. I see you and I command you right now to terminate by fire. You are a liar and a destroyer, and so there is no place for you in this home. Maria prayed as she began to take authority over demonic agents. The Grandmaster appeared physically and she saw him. How dare you challenge me? Do you know the covenant your husband has entered with me? Grandmaster asked Maria, who was praying in tongues and spilling fires. There is no covenant that is greater than the blood of Jesus. So by the name, I command you to be destroyed. She prayed, but the Grandmaster laughed even more wickedly, and he said something that scared Maria. Let's see how your God will deliver a person like you, who can keep malice for a whole year, even though you are the one calling on the Holy Spirit. You are contaminated by that, and the Holy Scripture said that without holiness, no man can see God. Grandmaster said, and Maria became scared. You quote scripture, she asked, and Grandmaster laughed so wickedly at her. You are a liar from the pit of hell, and I command you right now to be destroyed by the fire of the Holy Ghost. Maria commanded, and she began to quote scriptures and command fire on the Grandmaster. It was a fierce battle. After so much prayers, the Grandmaster was still standing strong. Maria understood why it was difficult for her to overpower him. Malice, by the mercy of God, the Grandmaster was overpowered, and Maria began to sing praises to God, and she also pleaded for mercy. From this day onward, I promise to follow peace with all men. Please, Father, forgive me, Maria prayed after the Grandmaster was burned to ashes by the fire of the Holy Ghost. Ade, who had been hiding behind his wife while the battle was going on, came out as soon as the Grandmaster and other members were destroyed. There and then, he tasted of the power of God, so he decided to serve him from that moment. We give God praises for fighting our battle. However, there is a question you need to answer, Maria said. I understand where you are coming from. You want to know why I joined a secret cult and if it was before or after I made money. I will answer your question. First thing I want to say is that the devil is very wicked and he does not stick to agreement. After I set up our driving schools, some of my friends began to advise me that if I wanted to stay alive, to enjoy the fruit of my hard work, I needed to join a secret cult for protection. They said that the people were always looking for me with evil eyes and soon they would plan to hurt me. After much persuasion, I joined the cult, but what they didn't tell me was that I was going to be offering sacrifices to them every year, and it must be a human sacrifice. I had no idea about it until one vehicle from my driving school, which was carrying some students who were undergoing training, got into a fatal accident. We lost one person and immediately, but the other girl, who happened to be my friend's daughter, had been in coma for days. Ade said to his wife's surprise, who had covered her mouth with her hands before her husband could finish talking. You mean to tell me that some students were involved in such a terrible accident and you couldn't even tell me? Maria asked, and Ade felt bad because he knew that what he did was very bad. I'm sorry, it's because of the court issue that I withheld that information from you. Thank you so much for standing by me through thick and thin, Ade said to his wife as he commended her effort in saving his life. Mr. Eze and his wife looked up at Whitney, who was being forced into the car. Jide had been with them since the previous day, looked at Whitney with a sad expression as she tried to cling on to him. "Baby, please go home with your parents. I'll be coming to check on you from time to time," Jide said. He hadn't even landed when Mr. Eze countered him. "What did you just call her? Baby? Young man, are you not afraid of what you are doing when you are not even married yet? Secondly, which house did you say you'll be coming to visit her? I hope it's not what I'm thinking," Mr. Eze said, and Jide turned his face away from him as he apologized. He couldn't stay again since Whitney had already been discharged. She was crying and kicking from the car when she saw that Jide was leaving her with those strange couple that she didn't even know. The doctor saw what was happening from his office, so he decided to talk to Mr. Eze before Jide could leave. "Excuse me, young man. Please give me a few minutes to talk to them before you go," doctor said to Jide, who was already going his way. "Sir, please, this is not good for her at this premature stage. I would advise you to let her go with that young man or take him with you so that she can be happy. One of the fastest ways to get a patient out of this situation is to make her happy all the time. Give her what she wants and never let her cry the way she's doing right now. It is not good for her," he said, and Mr. Eze became furious. "Can you hear yourself talk, doctor? How do you expect me to allow my daughter go home with her boyfriend who hadn't paid a cup of water as dowry on her head? Please stay out of this. When it's time for treatment, we will come out for answers. Please don't suggest anything again to me," he said, rushed into the front seat in his luxurious car. The driver took the wheel and began to drive towards Mr. Eze's mansion. After they drove up, the doctor apologized to Jide and he left. He was very respectful and successful young man who was doing very well for himself in business world. It appears that this man will never accept me as he kept looking at me like a bad boy. Well, I can't go into a family who doesn't accept me. I will just wait a little while for Whitney to regain her memory so we can talk about this," Jide said as he drove to his duplex. Whitney had been crying and telling the driver to stop the car, but her father instructed him to keep going. However, as the driver kept going, something unimaginable happened. Whitney, who had earlier threatened to open the door while the vehicle was in motion, actually did as she had said. The car was on top speed when she swung the door open. The driver was forced to stop instantly. There were chaos on the road as two other cars that were behind them stopped abruptly to avert the impending accident that was happening close to them. "No!" Mr. Eze echoed, and Mama shouted, "Jesus, I think I need to call that boy right now," Mr. Eze said with a tone of finality as their vehicle came to a stop. "What was the meaning of what you just did? Do you want all of us to die? Why will you put such a stunt?" Mr. Eze was very angry, talking to Whitney. He was very close to hitting her, but his wife intervened. "Take it easy, honey. She isn't well, remember," Mama said after she was calm from the shock of what their daughter did. She had been very scared. "What do you mean that she isn't well? Is she the only sick person in the world? Why would she behave like that?" Mr. Eze said to his wife, who was quick to cover his mouth from taking further action. "You know that she doesn't need scolding in that condition. All she needs now is our love and care. My daughter, I'm sorry for how I spoke to you earlier. Please forgive me." Mr. Eze apologized, but Whitney was still crying. In order for what happened not to repeat itself again, Mr. Eze was forced to ask the driver to take them back to the hospital. When they got there, he looked around to see if Jide was anywhere in sight, but to his dismay, he wasn't. Just hope that the doctor has his number as he hurriedly went to the doctor's office. Luckily for him, he got the number, and without wasting time, he went ahead to dial Jide's number. "Young man, please, I need you to drive back to the hospital at once. We are waiting for you there," Mr. Eze said. And Jide said, "Okay, sir," as he made a U-turn and headed back to the hospital. As soon as Whitney sighted him, she smiled and called his name softly. Jide's heart skipped a beat as he heard the way her lips turned, calling his name. It had been a pleasure listening to her. "You asked to see me, sir," Jide said as he approached Mr. Eze. "Yes, my son. Please, if it won't be too much of a trouble, I would love you to come home with us instead of taking our daughter to your house," Mr. Eze pleaded with Jide. "I'll be glad to help you, sir," Jide simply nodded. "Thank you very much. Can we move now?" he asked Jide, who nodded. The doctor, who had heard everything they said from his office, just smiled and said, "Fathers and their overprotective nature." Thank God he finally agreed to do the needful. After the first day of living together, Mr. Eze discovered that Jide was not like one of those boys he had imagined. Aside from being respectful, Mr. Eze noticed that he had a very strong commitment to his daughter as well. How did my daughter find such a perfect gentleman in a rough generation such as this? This boy is very good and he will make a good husband for her, he thought to himself. Jide had taking leave from work because he needed to be present before Whitney would agree to do anything, including taking her drug. Because she didn't want to see her father, he decided to resume work and make himself useful. Jide was like a nanny to Whitney. He helped her with almost everything aside from when she wanted to take a bath. The housekeeper helped her with that. On a certain day, Jide called out the doctor to get a list of things he needed to do in order for Whitney's memory to be restored. The doctor told him not to force her to remember things she didn't want to remember. Instead, he should keep discussing things from the past that she remembers, and Jide kept on to that. One day, himself and Whitney were discussing when she said something that scared him. "Why didn't we just run away from these strange people? Why do you keep saying we should stay here?" Whitney asked Jide, who got scared. "Don't say that, baby. These people are very close to you, even more than I am. You know what? I want us to discuss something else. What do you think about a fairy tale wedding? I'm planning one beside a lake, with a few people in attendance," Jide asked with love in his eyes. "That would be great, but we can't be talking about that when we are still here. Why don't we move out to your place?" Whitney asked, but Jide said no, so she kept quiet and became moody. "Leave me, my love. Where we are right now is a place you love so much. You even grew up in this house," Jide said, and at that instant Winnie began to look at the picture frames hanging everywhere around the house. "Really? But why don't I know them?" Whitney asked, and Jide assured you that she will be fine in a little while. At night, Jide slept in the guest room while Whitney slept in her room. One day, everybody had gone to bed except Jide, who was still watching football match in the sitting room. He slept very late that night, so the following day, he couldn't wake up early. In his sleep, he heard the commotion from the living room, and he quickly jumped out of the bed and hurried to see what was going on. When he got there, Mama was lying on the ground, crying. As soon as he entered, Mr. Eze grabbed him and roughly demanded that he provide his daughter. "You were the last person in the sitting room last night. Tell me where my daughter is," Mr. Eze asked, shaking Jide violently. "I don't understand," Jide said, getting angry at that point. "I said you should provide my daughter because it's looking like you arranged and took her to your house while you pretend as if you know nothing. Where is she?" Mr. Eze asked, and at that point, Jide lost it. "I have taken a lot of insult from you, sir. All because I fell in love with your daughter. I even went out of my way to babysit her till she got well. For the past 2 weeks, I hadn't been at work, all because I needed to take care of your daughter. And all I get in return is being called a kidnapper." Jide was vibrating with so much anger and said, at this point, Mr. Eze began to lower his voice as regret ran through his spine. "My son, I didn't call you a kidnapper. I only asked if you knew where she was, since you were the last person in the sitting room," Mr. Eze said, and Jide walked into the guest room where his things were packed up. "I can see that I made a mistake coming here. I wish you and your family luck in finding your daughter, but I'm out of this," Jide said as he walked away with his bag. "My son, please come back. I'm sorry for what my husband said to you," Mama pleaded, but Jide was already out of the door by the time she finished talking. Looking blankly at the door, Mama turned to her husband and said, "Now you have driven away the young man. Where do we go from here?" Mr. Eze kept quiet, thinking about where the daughter could have gone. If it were to be when her memory was intact, I would have suggested we check her friend's place, Mr. Eze said, and his wife looked at him with angry gaze. "Was that the reason you had to send away the young man that was here to help her?" Whitney had run away from the house with the intention of going to Jide's place. However, as she tried to find her way there, she couldn't remember the road that led to his house, so she sat down beside the road. As Jide was driving home in anger, he sighted someone who looked like Whitney, but because of the anger in his heart, he didn't take a second glance at her. He drove past her and went straight to his house. As soon as he got home, he began to prepare for work because he couldn't afford to miss work for that day. "Good day, sir," employees greeted him. Jide took a stride through the hallway that led to his office. Getting to his office, he met the shock of the life. "Olivia, what in the heaven's name are you doing here?" Jide asked, as a gorgeously sophisticated girl was sitting beside his desk with her leg crossed. "Hey honey, since I didn't have the address of your current home, I decided to wait for you here. Thank God you finally came to work today," she said, the last word with a clenched teeth. It appeared she had been coming to check on Jide for the past few days when he had been absent. "How dare you come to my office? What business do you have for you to come here? You know what? Whoever let you in is fired," Jide said as he turned around to step out. But what he heard next made him stop. "Nobody let me. I came in here by myself. In fact, nobody knows I'm here." "What do you mean by that? Only ghosts appear and disappear. Are you saying you appeared in my office?" Jide asked, but Olivia kept quiet and her countenance changed instantly. "Jide, wanted to be sure of what she said, so he dialed a number and the voice of his secretary came up. Nancy, please come to my office at once. Jide said into the receiver and he hung up after saying that. To his utmost surprise, when he looked up at where Olivia was sitting, he met her absence. He immediately rushed out to check around whether he would see her, and just as he made to pass through the door, he bumped into Nancy, who was coming to respond to the phone call he had just made. Did you pass a lady on your way here? She is fair in complexion and Jide began to describe how Olivia looked like, but Nancy said she didn't see anybody. No, you don't understand. She just left my office now. You must have passed her on your way without knowing. Jide said, but Nancy insisted that she didn't see anybody. Okay, then you can go back to work, Jide said. As he dismissed Nancy, he went back to his office and began to wonder what had happened. Could it be that she was a ghost like she insinuated earlier? Jide wondered to himself as he sat behind his desk. He couldn't understand it because his office was usually locked and only he had the keys. How could she have entered? Olivia was his university sweetheart, whom he had planned to marry, but she hurt him by falling in love with another guy on campus and tore his heart into pieces. It was in the course of his heartbreak that he found Whitney, and his life never remained the same ever. He experienced true love in her arms, and he knew what they shared was from the deepest part of their hearts. No faking. The last thing he heard about Olivia was that she got married and traveled overseas with her husband. Seeing her in his office brought back old memories to him, but he was long over her after he had fallen in love with Whitney. He just wondered what had made her to come see him. He was still lost in thought when his cell phone rang, and he quickly grabbed it only for him to hear Whitney's voice. Baby, where are you? Oh my God, you scared me. Hope you're okay. Listen, stay right there where you are. We come and get you immediately, Jide said into the phone. All at once, but before he could turn around to grab his car key, Olivia was staring at him from where she had sat before. Olivia, Jide asked fearfully, as she appeared from nowhere. Why are you appearing and disappearing like a ghost, which you are not? Jide, who doesn't even believe in ghosts, existed, asked. He knew that ghosts disappear and appear, but he didn't believe that. Please don't say that again. Listen to me. I came to apologize to you because this is the last time you ever see me. I know how badly I hurt you back then on campus, and I'm here to let you know that I am very sorry. I wish I knew that my life would be on the line when I agreed to marry Felix. I would have refused his proposal, but like they said, nobody knows tomorrow. By this time next week, my remains will be laid down in the cemetery in Los Angeles. My husband turned me into a sex worker as he got to Los Angeles. They used us like animals as they let their dogs get into us. After some months into the job, I developed a serious sickness, and that was how I lost my life. Please find it in a place in your heart to forgive me. I will still be alive today if I had stayed with you, but I chose to marry money over true love, and that is what led me to an early grave, Olivia said, and she disappeared. Jide only realized that he had been dreaming all along. When he woke up, what kind of a dream was that? Olivia dead? Anyways, let me go in search of Whitney, using the address that was given to me in that dream, he said, and he stood up, grabbed his car key and rushed out. When he got to the place where he was directed in the dream, to his utmost surprise, Whitney was sitting down beside the road. It happened to be the exact place he had seen someone who looked like her earlier. He quickly rushed out of his car and hugged Whitney as he sobbed. How are you, my love? Jide asked. I'm fine. I wanted to go to your house, but I didn't remember the route we used to take. Please take me to that house, Whitney said, and Jide didn't waste another minute. He drove down to Whitney's house immediately, and as he parked their car in the garage, she turned to Jide and said, I'm not coming to stay here. I remember something about this house, and I'm only here to check it out, after which we'll head back to your house. Anything you say, baby, Jide responded, and he followed Whitney from behind as they walked into the house. When her parents saw her, they were surprised, and Mama ran towards her with a happy gesture, but Whitney shoved her aside and went straight to her room. Mama began to cry as she looked at her daughter helplessly. Oh God, look at how an evil driving school has put my daughter in a traumatic medical condition. If you had listened to her when she said her spirit did not accept that driving school, we wouldn't be in this situation right now. My own daughter doesn't recognize me again, Mama said as she cried uncontrollable. She turned to Jide and said, where did you find her? I found her along the road, ma. Jide responded, how did she agree to come to this house with you? Mama said. She was the one who said I should bring her here. She said she wanted to check something, Jide said. Really? What did she tell you she wanted to check? Perhaps she remembers something. Mama asked curiously. I don't know what it is that she wants to check, but I also think that she remembers something. Jide responded, and at that instant, Mama tiptoed to Whitney's room and hid herself behind the door. As she looked up to what Whitney was checking, she was holding a picture in her hand and talking to herself. This is my secondary school picture, and those people are Loretta and Edna, my classmates. Why can't I seem to remember anything else? Whitney asked herself as she held her head in agony, trying to remember things. The doctor had told her not to force anything. He told her to live happily because that is the only way she'll be able to gain her memory back. As soon as she remembered that, she decided to stop forcing herself to remember things. Instead, she would live with the couple as her foster parents. She had just concluded that in her heart, and as she stood up to walk out of her room, something spectacular happened. An old flower vase that was kept on her wardrobe fell from the top and landed on her head. She fell down and winced in pain. Mama ran out of her hideout to help her, and just then she got the shock of her life. Her daughter, who had seen her as a total stranger for over 4 months, looked up and called her Mama. Mama cried and fell down to the ground. Jide and the house help ran into the room, and to their utmost surprise, Whitney recognized each of them. When Mr. Eze got the call that his daughter had regained her memory, he didn't waste another minute and rushed home. Daddy, Whitney greeted as soon as she sighted her father. Mr. Eze couldn't contain his joy as he looked up at his daughter. Jide didn't want to interrupt the family reunion, so he quietly sneaked out of the house and drove straight to his apartment. When he got there, thought of the dream he had flooded his mind, so he decided to check Olivia's Facebook handle to see if there was any information about her. True to his expectation, he saw several posts that she was tagged into. They talked about her painful ordeal in the hands of her so-called abroad-based husband and how she finally ended up in excruciating manner. Jide couldn't believe his eyes after reading all those posts. He wondered whether girls would ever learn from such stories, since they would still run after flashy lifestyle. 5 months after Whitney regained her memory, Jide proposed to her and she accepted. Mr. Eze didn't waste time to give his blessing as he saw how responsible Jide was and how much he loved his daughter. Ade couldn't continue running the driving school because of the negative news people spread about it. After the car accident, they tagged it the evil driving school and nobody enrolled in the school anymore, so he had to shut it down and invested in another business which did very well. Mr. Eze and his family were discussing about Whitney's marriage and he said something very funny that got everybody laughing. Thank God you are not getting married now. Please, when you get to your husband's house, let him teach you how to drive because I cannot risk it again when God has saved me the first time, Mr. Eze said, and everybody laughed out loudly.